Welcome back to Library Chess YouTube channel. In today's class, we will learn how to make this beautiful three-layer detail on a blouse. It can be on a blouse, can be on a dress. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to make this design, I'll be placing this on this tube top. You can place it on a bustier or whatever blouse that you want to use, okay? And this is a stretchy top, so I'm not going to be putting a zipper at the back. So you can see now the only thing you need to do now is to note your center front so that you can mark out the area that this design is going to cover. So now I've placed the notch on my center front, as you can see, and this is my notch. So I'm just going to lay this on the table so that we can measure this out. So this design is actually in 3 layers, but you can make yours 2, you can make yours 4, depending on the height and the design you're aiming to get. So from my center front now, I'm going to measure towards the side like this, and then you're not going to measure to your last point, because remember your arm is still going to come out of this tube top. So I'm just going to stop it around 4 or 4.5 inches, and then I'll have this small space. Remember, it's a stretchy fabric, so it's going to be enough for me, and this is for a small size. So now the width of my design is going to be around 4.5, and then the height, that's the length of the design. Like I said, it's in 4, so I'm going to make the first one around 5 inches, then the second one can be around 8 inches, and the last one can be 11 inches. You can do yours 4, 7, 10, depending on what you want basically. So now the width is 4.5 inches, but because we're going to be placing this, we're going to be gathering this, I'm not going to use exactly 4.5. I can multiply this by 1.5 or 2 inches. So if I'm multiplying by 2 inches, I'll have 9 inches. But if I'm multiplying by 1.5 inches, I'll have around 6 inches thereabouts. So I'll bring in my fabric to cut now. I'm going to be using this Ankara fabric for the design. So I'm going to have to cut this on my fabric. You can see this is the shortest one, this is the middle, and this is the longest, and they have 3 inches distance interval in between them. And the width I use is 4.5 inches multiplied by 2, and that gave me 9 inches that I have here. So I have my first layer, and when I was cutting this, I put it on fold by the length. Okay, remember this is around 5.5 inches because of allowance. So when I wanted to cut it, I put it on fold like this, so that I'm cutting both the main fabric and the facing together, because I don't want it to have any seam at the upper part here. So you just put your fabric on fold. So if you're cutting 5 inches, it means your length is going to be 10 inches by the time you're putting it on fold. And then for the middle one also, my middle is around 8.5 inches also. So when I was cutting it, I also placed this on fold so that the upper part here is not going to be having any joining. So the same thing is what I did for the longest part. I also put it on fold while cutting it so that it's not going to have joining. So after cutting your fabrics out like this, the next thing is for you to take your interfacing. Because we want this to stand and be really firm, you will need your interface to strengthen it. So you can either use a gum stay or a collar stay or something just to make the fabric really firm. So I'll go ahead now and iron my interfacing on this, and then I'll bring it back for us to continue. So I've gone ahead to add my interfacing to this, and you can see what we have. So for each, you cut 4 of each. Remember, we'll have one for the one side, one for the other side of the center of the front, and then you have one for the one side of the back and another one for the other side for the back. So that's going to be 4 in total, but I'm just going to be doing 2 pairs just for one side of the front and one side of the back. So if you want to make yours, you just need to cut for both sides if you're going to be putting this on both sides. So now I've added my interfacing to the 3 of them now, and this is what I have. So the next thing now is for me to put this on fold by the right side facing right side like this, so that I can close up the side of the design. So I'll put it on fold like this and then close it up on the side, leaving just this hem to turn it out. I'll do the same thing for this also, close up the side, and then do this for the third one also. I'll close up the side and then bring it back to show us what we have. So I've gone ahead to sew them together on this side, and then from this hem line I'm going to turn it out. So make sure your sharp edges are really sharp, because that's the beauty of the design. You want them to come out really sharp and popping. So this is the middle one, this is the short one, and then I'm going to turn the big one also. So I'm using just a very soft stay for this. When you're doing yours, don't use a stay like this, use a stronger stay so that it can make it stand well for you. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just using this very soft gum stay. Your interface should be firm enough to make this stand. So now I'm going to turn the last one also, then I'll go ahead and iron them so that I can reduce all this puffiness that I still have. So after ironing it, now I'm going to show us how we're going to be placing this. Okay, but this is what we have. This is the long part. You can see it is now neatly finished both in and out. This is the short, the middle, and then this is the short one. So you can see the difference that we have. So I'm gonna have to iron this now. This is what I have. I have two pairs, one for the front and one for the back. And when you arrange it, this is what it looks like. So this is going to go for the front. Okay, so and this other one is for the back. So now I'm going to bring in my tube top. That's where I'm placing it. So now remember, we did this in excess. I want this to be on the 4.5 inches mark from my center front. So what I need to do now, okay, so from here I have all of this in excess. What I'm going to do now is to gather this to 4.5 inches. That is the place I want to place this. So I'm going to gather this to 4.5 inches now. Then after gathering it, I'm going to fix it on my bodice. Okay, so I've gone ahead to gather this, and this is what I have. Okay, so now you can see that we still have our rough edges, and also we have not turned this tube top. Okay, so you should get your lining ready, and then I'm going to be placing this. You can see this is the right side. This is where we have the small, the medium, and the big. So I'm going to place the right side on the right side of my fabric, and then from my center front here, I'm going to sew this down. Okay, so I'll sew it to the tube top so that by the time I open it up, it's going to face the upper part like this. And then when you're fixing your lining, you use your lining to cover it and sew, so that by the time you sew everything, your lining is going to hold, your design is going to be in between your lining and your main fabric, and then you have something really neat. So now if your tube top is very firm on this upper part, you don't need to add a sleeve to it. But if the top you're working with is not so firm and you don't want it to be falling off, you just need the width measurement that you're working with. You use that's 4.5 inches. You use that to draft a pattern like this, and then you can see that I've turned this. I just cut like 2 of it. I quicked on fold, that's 9 inches, and then I sew it inside. Okay, so let me just turn this out so that we'll see it well. Okay, so I just cut 4.5 inches on fold, and then the length I used to cut this is what I went off with when I was drafting this. So remember, normally we go by off by 5 inches, 6 inches for our off shoulder. So you just need that measurement to complete your full bodice. Okay, so that's going to be like your sleeve. It can be in form of a strap, just a 2 inches or 1 inch strap, or you can just make it as wide as this. So after sewing it, you just turn it in like this, and then you can place your design on it first like this. Okay, before you sew both of them to your bodies. So after sewing it to your bodies, your strap is what is going to hold these bodies to your body. That is if the upper part here is not firm to your body, so that it's not going to fall off. This is going to hold it to your shoulder, and then your design is just going to stand like this. So I'll go ahead now and sew this to my body. So for the back also the same thing. You're going to place your design like this, and then you sew it to the back, and then it's going to stand on the back here also. So I can decide to just put it at the side, at the front and back, or I just put it at the 2 front parts so that we can see what this design is going to look like by the time we are done sewing it. So I'll go and sew this to the bodice now, and then take it to the mannequin so that we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it now, and you can see I just placed my strap on top of my design and then I sew it to my bodice like this, so you can see the rough edges of my bodice and my design. And then the same thing is what I applied on the back. I did the same thing. I placed them on top of each other and then I sew it. So this is the strap, so I'm just putting the design downward so that we can see the strap. So this strap is what is going to hold this to your body. But if you use your if you take your round bust measurement really firm, that's your above bust measurement. If that measurement is really firm, you may not need to add a strap to it. So your strap is going to be in between like this, and then design is going to come on top of it like this. Okay, so the same thing we have done here, you're going to do to the other side. So you have another one will be coming like this, and then you have another one also coming like this, and this is where the hem is going to pass through. So you just need your lining to turn this neatly, and then you're good to go. So this is the front and this is the back. So if you use a strong stay, it's going to make it stand on its own for you. But if your stay is not so strong, you can just tack that's the biggest one. You can just tack it so that it can just hold them in place for you, so that it's not going to fall off. If this is also falling off, you can just tack it here and there so that it gets what you need. So now I'll take this to the mannequin and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what the design is looking like. This is the first layer, the second and the third. You can use contrasting fabric for the middle layer if you really want it to be obvious, and also you can extend your measurement beyond the 4.5 inches mark that I stopped mine. I stopped here because I have little fabric to work with. And let me just push this down so that we can see the sleeve. Okay, so this is what the sleeve is looking like. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.